No one knows you exist. And so the answer is you have to advertise more. You either do 100 reach outs a day, cold or warm. You do 100 minutes of making content and post something. And then paid ads is 100 minutes a day of making paid ads. So that's doing the research, looking at other hooks, recording, editing, cutting it, and spending money. You reach out to people, you make content, you run ads, pick one.
Procrastination tends to hold a lot of us entrepreneurs back. A lot of the time we tend to think that we need to overthink how we're getting our clients and overthink every single approach we're taking in order to actually land those clients in the first place. But as Alex Hormozi is literally explaining in this video, all you really need to do is to understand the importance of marketing, advertising your products and services, and actually getting your voice and your products and services out there in order for people to actually see you. And in this video, we're going to actually dive into some ways you can implement it and actually get that done for yourself as well. Alrighty, so guys, we're back in. It's been quite a while since I've actually made a video on this YouTube channel, to be very, very honest. I've been a bit lazy, to be honest, just focusing on the businesses. And to be honest, I've been building my personal brand in music again, because I've just, music has always been a part of me. So I thought, you know what, let me actually go back into the industry, reconnect the dots that I have there, and build my businesses that generate me a lot of capital behind the scenes, and use the music to kind of garner fame and the connections and the network that usually I've been able to actually garner in the first place. But in saying that, I can't lie, I was watching Alex Hormozi's content and he said something that, it changed my perspective. You need to be able to actually document your journey, and you need to be able to actually show people that you know what you're doing. And YouTube is a great format for us to be able to do so. So this is a principle that I live by. Number one, God. Number two, marketing. And after that is family. And of course, the loved ones that you actually have. But in today's one, we're not going to be talking about, of course, the Most High or family. We're going to be talking about marketing, right? Now, the thing that Alex Hormozi said that we need to really, really get at the back of our head is that, number one, no one knows that we exist, right? A lot of the time we tend to spend a lot of time in our head thinking, okay, cool, we have a product or service and we're scared to actually promote those products and services simply because we're scared of what our friends, our family, and again, those loved ones would actually say. But you got to realize these aren't people that are going to be paying you. The people that are going to be paying you are usually strangers. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the people that are really going to take you to your first maybe 6, if not 7, if not 8 figures, whatever you're actually looking to project to actually attain in this lifetime, are going to be strangers. Your loved ones, the people in your immediate circle, if they were going to take you there, they would have taken you there already. So what is the actual solution? It's marketing, right? If no one knows who you are, then you're good enough not basically existing. Your products and service might as well not exist. You need to understand that you're only as good as the people that know you. And I remember I used to always say it to some of my friends and some of my colleagues and some of the entrepreneurs around me that, look, there are people out there that have half the talent, half the know-how, half the expertise, but they're able to make way more money simply because they are experts at marketing, experts at creating content, experts at getting their faces out there. And as a result, because they're the first people that people see, people are automatically gonna go to them, right? So the thing that we want to basically do is to take some of that market share for ourselves. And you are watching this video simply because you have a product and service, even though you would have clicked off by this video by now. And I've purposely started to create videos in a way that's a bit more boring, because I want to make sure that I'm not attracting people that like all those hyper edits and things like that. I want to build a community, especially in the early days, of people that are like-minded entrepreneurs and understand that at the end of the day, sometimes it's the boring content, especially the long form, that actually gets you there. I'm gonna be real, I learn way more from content that doesn't have those edits and is very long, unedited, etc. You see some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs are making, etc. So I've made a committed decision, and also as I'm creating more content as well, it just is a bit easier for me as well, just creating more straight to the point kind of content, whiteboard style as well. So it's usually going to be only the intros that you guys are going to see that may be edited. Everything else is just going to be straight to the point. Now understand, at the end of the day, your product and service is a means to an end, right? We're all having a business, a product or service. Yes, some people may be doing it out of passion, but let's be real, you wouldn't be having a business, a product or service and wanting to make money if you didn't have something to do with that money. At the end of the day, always remember that money is not the goal. The goal is what that money can actually achieve for you. And always remember that if you have no pipeline, meaning no clients, no customers, if no one knows you, then you have no business. If you have no business, you have no money. And guess what happens? You have the pain of actually not getting that means to an end. So for example, one of my means to an end is being able to retire my parents. The longer and every single day that I wait, and every single day that I'm not marketing aggressively, every single day that I'm not creating YouTube videos, every single day that I'm not speaking to clients and having meetings where I'm closing those clients for high ticket deals, guess what's happening? The pain keeps on growing. Every single day that you, for example, are watching and binging a lot of content online, etc., and not taking action on the content and the information you're actually looking at, the pain keeps on increasing. And this is the thing that we as entrepreneurs, we need to understand. So what is the solution? The solution is quite simple. It's action, right? And always remember that consistency beats intensity. A lot of us, and this is a mistake that I've made time and time again, and I like to document some of my mistakes to make sure that you guys kind of avoid it. I've always been the type of person to have the whole hustle culture literally tattooed into my forehead. The whole idea of intensity of, look, we need to make sure we're grinding and doing all this type of stuff, etc. But I'm gonna be real, the most money I've ever made in my life has always just come from the point of me just doing simple things consistently over a long period of time. And that's when a lot of cash flowed. Whereas when you're focused on that intensity and focusing on, for example, out of 100 days, you're only spending maybe 10 of those days like literally burning yourself out and putting in 110%, etc. Versus over the 100 days, literally just depositing small over a long period of time. The person that is depositing those small deposits over a long period of time, they end up winning, right? And the simple thing that you need to do when it comes to this is just understand the rule of 100, and we'll go into that very, very shortly. So when it comes to marketing, there's only 3 ways of marketing, let's be real, just to simplify it for you guys, because I don't want to give you guys too much information. So the third thing is just cold outbound. Understand the power of cold outbound. We then got content, and the last thing is, of course, ads. Now, I've made content around, how to actually create content, of course, how to create ads. But make sure to leave a comment down below if you want me to go more in depth of how to create the content and how to also, of course, run the ads, because these are all things that I do. I would be very, very honest in saying that content is still something I'm looking to master. But it has made me money, though. Let's be real. Ads is something that I really, really enjoy, but what I've realized is that in reality, cold outbound is always going to be king if you understand it, because it takes little to no capital. Anyone can do it. And in any circumstance or predicament that you're in, you are going to be able to print money. And I'll show you exactly how. I'll tell you guys a brief story, right? So my first ever business was a music studio. And it's something that last year I closed down. I just decided recently, I think in the last maybe month or 2, just to reopen because, again, of my passion of music, but it's not necessarily my bread and butter. But in saying that, when I first started, I remember I was around 17, 18, for example. No one actually knew who I was. But when I worked with people, they kept on saying that I had what it took, right? They kept on saying that I had some sort of ability, that I was good enough, and they actually thought that I'd been in the game way longer than I actually had. So then that's when I realized that, look, I had the ability, and it went back to what I said at the beginning of the video, where I started to understand that I had the ability more than some people they were mentioning, but the other people that they were mentioning were getting more business and actually making the money and getting all the accolades because they had marketed themselves. They had the balls to basically rise up and actually go and acquire those services and acquire those clients and do all these type of things. Whereas with me, I was trying to play the humble card. And we all know that scared money doesn't make any money, right? We're not necessarily saying have a crazy ego, etc., but have some sort of confidence within yourself. And that's something that cold outbound is definitely going to build within you if you're consistent at it. So what did I decide to do? I decided to start outreaching. And I'm going to be real, even till this day, I don't like it. Cold outbound is one of the most tedious things ever. Tedious. But guess what it did? it changed my life, because I went from 0 clients to being able to then go full-time in music. And it started off as a pipe dream, as something of, oh, maybe I'm going to be able to make money in the music industry. Maybe I'm going to be able to have a studio and actually work with clients, etc. Into it now becoming a reality, to where, for those that obviously know me personally, you know that I've worked with some of the biggest artists in the entire world. I've been able to travel around the world solely through music. I've been able to meet billionaires through music as well. These are things that are actually documented, and there's a lot of receipts for it as well. So music has actually done way more for me than even business has. You know what I mean? Hence why I'm so passionate about music, and I will never ever leave it alone, even whilst I'm building other businesses. But that all literally started from cold outbound and me putting myself out there, right? So I'll just give you guys a quick example of understanding how cold outbound can really get you to your goal and how quick it can as well. So let's say, for example, I remember my first target was just to hit around like 2K per month, for example. The average ticket size, so what a ticket is, for those that don't know, that is how much you can make per service delivery. So for example, we had minimum 2 hours, right, back then, and even till now I do minimum 2 hours whenever I'm working with a client. And back then, I think we were charging around 20 to 25. So I just did like an average and just said, 25 per. So let's say, for example, it's £50 per, the average ticket size or the lowest ticket size. And what I realized is that, okay, cool, when you do the maths, it takes 40 hours in order for you to achieve this goal. But guess what? There's 168 hours in a week. Meaning, in reality, if I was to put in that effort and actually just maximize 1 week, I would actually be able to hit the target for the month. Now, in a circumstance like, for example, in the industry rather, like music, it's very, very difficult to actually achieve that. Of course, I've achieved it before, but it's difficult to achieve it consistently because, of course, we're dealing with lower ticket sizes. Now, when you start adding the zeros behind this number, you start realizing, okay, it becomes a bit more fun to deal with, and you're putting in the same amount of effort, but for bigger rewards. But we'll get into that in a different conversation. Now, what do we do with the rest of these hours? Of course, you're going to have some time just to do the regular things, such as, for example, everyone needs to sleep, for example, right? Everyone should be in the gym, for example. Everyone should have some sort of time to pray, to have some time with family, etc. These aren't things that we're going to bring up in this video, but the thing is that at the end of the day, I do a 168-hour exercise with a lot of like my clients or my mentees that I've had in the past, and what we've all come to realize is that absolutely every single human being that I've come in contact with has a spare maybe 20 to 30 hours on average left to spare every single week. So this is hours that usually, when you look at your screen time, you're spending on TikTok, you're spending on, Instagram Reels, you're spending on YouTube. YouTube is a very, very big one for me personally. You're spending on things that aren't necessarily income producing activities. What do you need to do with these hours instead of spending it on all of these things that are vain? It doesn't mean anything. You want to actually focus it and redirect it into actually what matters, which is marketing, the cold outbound that we've been talking about. So before we go into exactly how and actually give you guys a step-by-step breakdown, what ended up happening when it came to, for example, the cold outbound, the goal for me was to literally just get people inside the studio, right? So my first play was to volunteer some free hours. So let's say, for example, the target again being 2K per month. I realized that on platforms like, for example, Instagram, that was a big one for me, and it still is a big one for me even till this day. Only allows me to send maybe 25 to 50, depending on the day, messages before obviously it starts to flag up that, okay, cool, it's seeming automated or and you can risk actually losing your account. So what I ended up doing was that I was actually reaching out to a lot of artists. I was also getting quite a lot of people that I knew as well to help me reach out to those artists as well and get them into the studio. And guess what? I was just giving them 2 hours free. Those 2 hours free, I then leveraged into giving them a great service, getting them to understand the the benefits of working with me. You know, I gave them just because it's free doesn't necessarily mean you need to give them less of a service. In fact, I believe that your free work is usually going to make way more room and way more, you know, impact in someone's life than actually your paid stuff. And your paid stuff or your free stuff should be better than most people's paid stuff. That's something that Alex Hormozi said that I definitely agree with. Now, these free service deliveries that I was doing ended up becoming long-term clients, to where I've been in the music game for 6-7 years now, and I still have clients from back then that I gave free service delivery for maybe once or twice that have gone on to pay me either a couple hundreds, if not a couple thousands, right? So this is something that helps a bunch and a ton. And even, for example, when you're now looking at the content and the ads as well, you're given a bunch of free value, and guess what happens? You end up building a lot of trust and a lot of equity with these clients, and they end up becoming long-term clients. But again, we're only going to be focusing on cold outbound today, right? So if you're getting any value so far, make sure to leave a like for the algorithm, and we're going to go into, for example, the different forms of cold outbound, right? So the free forms of cold outbound is quite simple. You got number 1, cold calling. You got number 2, cold DMs, and you got number 3, cold email. Now, cold calling is, I hate this one the most. I'm gonna be very, very real with you guys. But what you're basically doing is, of course, you're scraping a list. So in every single thing, you guys, of course, you need an offer, etc. We're not going into the offer right now. We're just going into the action of what it means to cold outbound. So you're scraping a list. You're nurturing the list. Then you're dialing. And in the dial, you're making sure to pitch and then book an appointment. Now notice what's going to end up happening. The only thing that's going to change in between is literally just this, right? On every single one of them. Because when it comes to cold DMs, guess what you're doing again? You're literally scraping a list from anywhere. You're nurturing that list to make sure that it's the actual right people that you're targeting. And then instead of dialing, for example, you would then literally just DM. You would then offer them a pitch, and then you book an appointment or get them into your calendar, etc. When it comes to email, the only thing that's changing, instead of it, of course, being dialing, is email. Now, I've done this in an order because cold calling, in my opinion, is the fastest way for you to get the results. So let's say, for example, if you're looking to close £1,000 by the end of the week, if you can cold call, you don't even have to be amazing. Every single thing, whenever it comes to cold outbound, is just a volume game. You don't have to be amazing, right? But if you're diligent enough, you can make that very, very quickly via cold calling. Cold DMs can be a bit more limiting, hence why, for example, is number 2. But I love cold DMs because, especially if you have a great profile, etc., you're going to be able to actually maximize that reach, etc. But always remember, on these platforms, especially like Instagram, Facebook, etc., you're limited to 30 to 50 messages unless you have a lot of accounts. Now, the last thing is, of course, cold email. Now, cold email is something that I'm looking to really dive into, because what I've realized is that every single person, every single one of my mentors, every single person that I've had, I've learned from, every single one is dialing in cold email. And these are the people that really tap into it and really master it. These are people that are hitting multiple 7-figure months, are hitting 8-figure revenues, are hitting 9-figure revenues as well. We're talking like the likes of, for example, Cole Gordon, for example, the Grant Cardones, for example, right? The Alex Hormozis, for example. These are people that really, really do cold email very, very well, and they're able to actually get a lot of value from it. So this is something that I'm looking to tap into, and I will be building right in front of you guys, so you can see transparently how I'm getting along with that. And sharing free game. That's just my aim of this channel anyway, just to share free game, right? But in saying that, these are the 3 ways that you can basically do so. Now, when it comes to cold DMs, because I know some of you are going to be like, okay, cool, we waited until the end of the video. What are some ways to basically, do cold DMs? Now, I'll just give you guys a very, very brief breakdown. Of course, you need that offer. Then, of course, we'll just get the rest of this over here. So when it comes to scraping a list, let's say for example, you are, let's change it from a music studio into, I don't know, you're looking to sell info or like a mentorship, for example. What you can actually do is that you have an offer. Let's say, for example, that offer is to, I don't know, you can build like a funnel, run ads, and help with the client fulfillment, right? So it's basically acting as a growth operator, and you do this specifically for the niche of fitness. So fitness coaches. What you need to do is that you want to go to people that are within this niche. So we'll actually do that right now. So some people that I know that are very, very good within this niche are people like, for example, Brandon Carter, King Keto. He is the GOAT, right? I love his content so much. But what you're gonna realize is that when you're looking at someone like this, who's very, very successful, as you can see, he got 1 million followers. He's trained over 15,000 people. If you look at his YouTube videos, he has those ClickFunnels plaques, meaning that he's generated, I think he has the one where he's generated up to 10 million through a funnel before. So he's doing pretty well for himself, right? Now, what you're gonna realize with key persons of influence, when you go into their followers, you're gonna get a lot of people that basically share similar interests. So if you keep on scrolling, for example, you can do this manually. I'll just show you guys the quick manual way. For example, you got one person here, for example, this guy, Mando Mija. You got another person, over here, but he only has 2 followers. So remember, we got one person so far by the name of Mando. Let's just go to him. So for example, what you want to then do is that you can clearly see this guy's a fitness coach, and this is what he really wants to do. You go to his link tree, you can see that he has some sort of online coaching. When you go to the online coaching, you can see it's a type form, and on that type form, of course, you literally just fill out all of your details. So it's a pretty simple funnel that he has going on, but at the same time, it would be much better if, for example, he had some sort of a hook or a title to actually say what people are going to get when they follow through with whatever he's talking about. But anyways, let's not go into that anyways. All right, that's just my marketing brain just ticking off. Now, what we want to do is that you can clearly see, like I said, he's a coach. You can literally just go whenever he posts a story. There was a story that he posted earlier. Let's say, for example, he posts a story and it's him in the gym, for example. You want to be able to relate with him and actually say something like, for example, again, copywriting and obviously being relatable is something very, very big, but I'll just say something very, very quickly. So something like, love the gains, bro, or something like, I see you putting in that work. And bearing in mind, depending on the niche and the industry you're going into, for example, with coaches, within the fitness niche, they tend to be very, you could say, conversational. They tend to say bro and brother and things like this quite a lot. If you're not speaking to a corporate person, you want to cut all that lingo out. So it just depends on whoever you're servicing as a niche. But with this guy, of course, send him that message via story. The reason why you also want to do it via story is simply because when you send them a message direct, it goes into their drafts or their request, sorry. So when it's in their request, they're 9 times out of 10, no one's checking their request, right? When you reply to their story though, it goes automatically into the inbox so they see it, right? And you've offered them some sort of value. That value that you then offer them, guess what? They're going to usually respond, and then you can then, as a result, leverage. One sec. Sorry guys. So as a result, you can then basically leverage the offer they actually have, and you can use that to eventually book an appointment through, of course, the pitch that you actually have. So in saying that, I hope you guys were able to actually gain benefit from everything that I've said, and understand that at the end of the day, number one is God. Number two is marketing. After that, you have your family, your friends, and your loved ones. If you gain value from this, make sure to subscribe. If you want to work with me personally, there's going to be a link below. Now, if you want to learn how to use AI and actually make money with AI, I also have a school community. It's completely free. I give value to you there. There's going to be weekly calls, so on and so forth. But everyone, thank you so much for locking in with me. It's quite late where I'm actually on holiday right now, so I'm not supposed to be recording videos, but it is what it is. It was my birthday not too long ago, so yeah, I'll see you guys probably tomorrow. We're probably going to start uploading daily on this channel, and yeah, take it easy.